Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's recording of a live demonstration of Concur Travel and Expense. My name is Kathleen Justison. I am a solutions consultant here at Concur, and I will be leading today's demonstration of how Concur Travel and Expense can be utilized within your organization. And if at any point you want to jump ahead, you can use the menu in the top left of the video player to select a chapter. We will walk through the travel booking tool and then walk through how those travel bookings and other card transactions, out-of-pocket spend go onto an expense report, giving that accounting staff, AP team, enhanced visibility to manage all of that spend. Just so you know as well, Concur is a complete spend management tool. We handle travel, expense, and the invoicing AP side of things all within Concur. So although this demonstration will look at travel and expense specifically, for invoice, check out one of our other in-depth demonstration videos. The first piece of Concur we're going to be looking at today is travel. Our travel tool is going to offer you and your employees a really easy way to book travel, such as flight, hotel, car rental options. We will go over how to enforce your company travel policies right within the booking tool so you can control that spend even before it happens. Then we will jump into talking about how we integrate that directly with the expense solution for you, making that expense reporting process incredibly easy. As it relates to travel, we will be looking at how easy it is to book travel within Concur. You can access the broadest available content, make those reservations, and how we can help prevent out-of-policy spend before it's incurred. So right here in the live site, I'm going to go through a trip booking. I am currently logged in through the web browser. To log into Concur, you will need a username and password. We are that unified spend management platform, like I mentioned earlier, which is why you're seeing other options to navigate within Concur, such as invoice, travel, expense. I'm also a manager within the site, giving me that approvals tab. And I can have all of my spend in one account, so based on the permissions that I have. Also within the Concur tool, I can book on behalf of others with our delegate option here. So if I needed to book travel on behalf of another person, I could easily act as another user if I needed to, based on the permissions that that user gives me. On my home screen here, you will see what I like to call a scoreboard at the upper right-hand corner. These are any action items that I need to complete. Concur, we keep it very simple by sending push notifications both to that end user's phone as well as their email, letting them know when they have items to work on, taking them directly to the mobile application or the desktop version to take care of those items. So I can get in, I can get out, go back to other business. And because Concur is cloud-based, you can do this all on the go or as long as you have internet access. Let's move forward with the travel booking. It will look familiar to other online booking tools you and your employees have used before, where they will fill out their starting point, their ending destination. You can select your dates. You can add hotel, car rental, all on one search, and it will simply search that available inventory and content. So like I mentioned before, we will give you access to the broadest available content. Concur works in partnership with a myriad of our travel agency partners. So booking travel in Concur is done in conjunction with a travel agency of your choice. We will give you access to the inventory that your travel management company has access to in Concur, and we are the tool to actually do the booking. But the travel agency is the one actually fulfilling those travel booking reservations. The travel agency will also be your point of contact should you or your employees need to reach out on the phone with any questions or concerns with regards to your trip. Right out of the gate, you are probably noticing I have access to a wide variety of vendors. I have access to Delta, Spirit, JetBlue, American, United, right out the gate. Going back to that point of Concur giving you that broadest available content. You can also bring in JetBlue, other direct connect content such as Southwest, which typically means you have to go to their specific website to book that airfare. We actually can bring those in as well into Concur. Now you do get to indicate who your preferred vendors are. You can omit certain vendors. It really starts with cultivating the content you want to be able to be available for your employees to book from, and then maybe removing certain items you don't want them to book at all. For example, certain restricted fares, strict hotel room policies that don't allow for cancellations or deposits that are required. You get to control what options are available to your employees. So during the booking here, I can search by a number of different criteria. We can look at, of course, the most compliant or the least compliant as well. So based on certain flags for certain trip segments, I can show all these different rules in one place. Some common examples of out of policy bookings may include you don't want employees flying business class for anything domestic, whereas international travel, there may be some different rules that apply. You can also create different policy buckets. Maybe your executives have more relaxed set of rules while your general travelers may have more strict policy rules in place. If I were to move forward with an out of policy booking here, what it will do is it's going to prompt me to select a reason as to why I am booking out of policy and provide any comments to my travel manager of why I am booking that specific flight, for example. Once I provide those comments to my travel manager of why I am booking this particular flight, I can then move forward with the rest of the reservation. What we want to do at the very least is make sure that we give the ability to notify any of those travel managers or arrangers of those out of policy bookings. This can all be done and sent as an email notification to that travel manager to review that information and either approve or reject the booking, and can be done also on the mobile application. So if you wanted to add approval criteria to that process, you'd be able to do that where maybe that trip cannot be fulfilled until that approver approves it. Or simply it can be a notification for purposes so that you understand where your travelers are, what they're booking, and then your travel managers can stay on top of what's being booked by their employees. Also, the travel manager will have information such as comments left behind and what rules were violated in that email notification from Concur. In addition to what we're seeing here in terms of the booking itself, you can also see what options were turned down. And then having insight into who is booking out of policy most frequently, so then you can run reporting and take advantage of that visibility component we talked about at the very beginning to see who's booking out of policy most frequently. Maybe this individual here has a high number of out of policy bookings and is in the wrong policy group. Or maybe you need to get them moved or added to a different policy. Maybe they just need a little education and encouragement to book through the proper policy channels. These reportings through Concur, all of our visibility and reporting options are going to bring to surface maybe some policies that are outdated over time or need to be adjusted, or giving you just visibility into those top policy exceptions. The goal here is to be able to show you that you get to be in control of what is being booked, where your employees are booking, and have insight of who is booking out of policy most frequently. We will move forward though with this booking as though it is in compliance and in policy. With this, if I were to continue with this booking, it's going to bring me then to my confirmation page to confirm details of that booking. This is where my rewards number is going to be populated. As you can see here, my payment information is also populated. All this information is auto-populated, so all I need to do is confirm that this information is correct and then continue on to book other segments. Again, I can also book travel on behalf of someone else, like we mentioned before, and it will populate all of their travel preferences also. When working with that travel agency partner of Concur, you also have the ability to bring in any unused ticket credits as forms of payments for future reservations. You can take advantage of those canceled or rescheduled flights. Those unused ticket credits will go into their Concur account, and reminders on when they will expire, so on and so forth, so that you can capitalize on those canceled flights. Then, if I were to continue with this particular booking, the process for hotels and car rentals is very similar. Now we will walk through the flip side of this reservation that helps build that expense report by simply booking that travel within Concur. So what Concur does is send over itinerary data to the expense report, which saves time when compiling and submitting that expense report. This starts with taking advantage of our e-receipt partnerships. For example, when booking a hotel within Concur, what we see here is that some of the hotels that are in Concur, they are e-receipt enabled. So you're able to send a digital folio to Concur and bring that into the expense report, as well as airfare and car rental. You will get that itinerary data and e-receipt information coming from airlines, hotel vendors, as well as car rental agencies. So these all act as further validation of that expense. Now you can anticipate seeing e-receipts for, again, all airfare booked within Concur, all major car rental agencies, Lyfts, Ubers, and almost all hotel vendors globally will send an e-receipt, and all major hotel chains will provide that information. Now, let's say you stay at a small bed and breakfast, for example. You can also take advantage of our Expenseit technology within the mobile application to snap a photo of that receipt folio, or you can email that folio to receipts@expenseit.com, and we will do that line itemization breakdown for you there. It's at this point in time we will jump over to our expense reporting tool to see how this all comes together. With Concur's expense solution, we want to be able to lean on our mobile app to get those expenses into Concur, giving you tools to easily verify that information on that report, get it submitted, go through an automated approval workflow of your choice, look at Concur's options for paying any out-of-pocket expenses, as well as the near-time, real-time reporting that Concur has for that expense information. So in terms of getting expenses and receipt images into Concur, we have a couple different avenues to do so. First, receipts can be scanned in and uploaded into Concur if you have them on your desktop version. They can be emailed to either receipts@expenseit.com or receipts@concur.com, and those receipts will automatically load those items into that user's Concur profile for them. We talked about e-receipts earlier. That's where that hotel, airfare, transportation receipt will automatically load into Concur for that user. And finally, our most utilized option is our capture option within the mobile application. And during the expensing process, if you have a card program that you want to connect with Concur, those charges will be fed into Concur and matched with those receipt images as well. By and large, our most popular option is our mobile receipt capture. So I'm going to show you just how easy it is for your users to capture receipt images on the go. For myself, I always like to take a picture of that receipt right away and compile that expense report later on. At the very bottom of my Concur mobile app, you'll see I have a camera icon at the bottom of my screen called Expenseit. What I will do here is I will snap a photo of this receipt. I will confirm that the dimensions and the total is correct, and then Concur is going to perform an optical character recognition scan on that receipt, capturing those details off of that receipt that many folks may be manually entering today. The scan that's taking place in my expense bucket is where I have some imported card charges and some other out-of-pocket expenses waiting to be submitted. The card icon shows that it's a card charge where every time I swipe my corporate card, those transactions come in automatically via a credit card feed. Then what Concur can do is intuitively identify that that receipt image corresponds to a card charge and match the card charge and the receipt together like it just did with my fuel charge. However, if it's a standalone receipt and it's just an out-of-pocket charge, you'll see just like the receipt below for dinner, it just recognized that it's an out-of-pocket charge and didn't match to any card charge. That scan will scrape off key details such as the transaction date, vendor details, essentially building out that expense line item from just simply snapping a photo of that receipt. A differentiator with Concur is you can use our OCR tool and take photos of receipts regardless of where that user is at. Maybe they don't have Wi-Fi or they're on the airplane. You can confirm that amount on that receipt as you take a photo of it, and it will store and forward that receipt safely in your Concur instance and continue that OCR scan once that user has internet access again. So the great thing is the receipt capture, it practically builds that expense report itself. You can see it's already recognizing the expense type for me, the vendor, the location, making it extremely end user friendly for myself. Back in the expense report area of the mobile app, as an end user, you can see all of your expense reports and what status they are in. So you can see exactly where things are submitted or pending approval. And I'm going to go into a report I have mostly built within my mobile app. So here you can see I have on this singular expense report, 2 different payment types on my report. I have some card charges as well as out-of-pocket charges as well. So that card icon means it was a credit card expense and it matched to that receipt. So you can have both an out-of-pocket transaction and a credit card transaction on that expense report, and Concur is smart enough to split those up in the back end for your team based on how that expense was paid for. So your accounting team isn't going to have to play arts and crafts behind the scenes of how to determine how that expense was paid. First thing you're seeing on my expense report here is a couple out of policy alerts that have been triggered on my report. It's showing me as an end user exactly where my expense items may be out of policy. Enforcing company policies can take place a few different ways. We also have best practices built within the Concur site. The yellow warning message here that you're seeing, that is a flag. We have both soft stops and hard stops. The yellow warning is a soft stop, meaning I need to maybe add a comment to my specific expense manager to explain this kind of transaction. The red alert, that is what we like to call a hard stop. So think of it almost like a stop sign. It's going to prevent that user from submitting until this expense item is fixed. So maybe you always require a business purpose, for example, to be filled out for an airfare expense, and it is a hard stop until they fill out that field. Most employees, they want to be within policy, or they don't have access to the policy, or they might not know it off the top of their head. Concur, we want to make that process very easy for them so that they can submit their expense report without the headaches and they can get reimbursed faster. So let's add a business purpose for my airfare expense or for my personal car mileage expense down here, for example, so that I can resolve this out of policy exception. Within this specific expense line item as well, you're seeing that an expense is tied to what we call an expense type. So with that expense type, we call those really your journal account codes within Concur. So that's tied to that backend account code that's tied to your accounting system, typically building out that GL string. On the line item here, you'll see I can further allocate a certain expense at the very bottom. So if we need to further build out that GL string for you, we can add certain departments, descriptions, drop-down lists that we'll talk about on the desktop version further. So to resolve this out of policy booking here for my personal car mileage, I may say it was for a client meeting. And as soon as I then figure out and fill out that business purpose, I can click save, and it will then resolve that out of policy exception for me as the end user, allowing me then to fully submit this expense report. So now you can see I only have 2 warnings left. I took care of that out of policy mileage business purpose that I had not filled out prior. We can also capture mileage on the mobile application as well. On our desktop version or the mobile app, we have a Google Maps integration. So this can be done again on the desktop version, but let's add a personal car mileage expense and Concur will calculate the total business miles that user went. So if I wanted to start and I, let's say, went from the Minneapolis airport all the way to the Minneapolis Convention Center downtown. What it will do is it will calculate the route that I take via Google Maps, and this is natively integrated with Concur, And as soon as I use that route, what it will do is confirm based on your reimbursement rate or the IRS rate and calculate how much that user will be reimbursed. And the Google Map image is almost like the receipt image, so that managers and accounting will always have full visibility into that user's mileage spend. I also want to take a look at a business meals expense. You can either require or have it be optional for your employees to fill out who is in attendance at this business meal, or in situations where you want to enforce a policy that would maybe be a meal cap limit per attendee. Your employees can simply add an attendee from either an automatic list of employees within Concur within their company, or they can just completely add in who else was at that meal. They can also make favorite groups or attendees that they may take out to a meal frequently. For other meals during travel, you have the ways to set up per diem, such as daily, weekly, bi-weekly limits for expenses of your choice, or for those specific government rates or corporate rates for reimbursement for meals and lodging. You can also see here that this business meal is in Canadian dollars for my US employee. Concur can convert foreign currency into employees' home currency. So if I swipe my card in Canada and my card charges comes over in Canadian dollars, we use the Oanda currency conversion. And we know that those rates, they do change multiple times over the course of a day. So we use that to then convert it back into that user's home currency for reimbursement and to match that credit card statement. Of course, you can always modify that exchange rate to match that credit card statement if necessary. I do want to show what this looks like on the desktop version also. So what you're seeing here is my manage expenses page back in the desktop version with all of my reports. Going back to that point of as an end user, I will have full access and visibility into what I've submitted, what is pending approval, and what I have not submitted. What you're seeing here down below as well is my available expenses that we saw on the mobile application, including that receipt capture of that card charge that we just did moments ago within the mobile application. I'm going to go back into that July expense report here, and we're going to talk on what that hotel e-receipt and that auto itemization from our travel itinerary that we booked earlier, but what that looks like. So when we go into a hotel reservation or a line item on our expense report, it's showing our digital folio here on the right-hand side. So this is where, again, it's really nice when you're booking travel within Concur. This automatically comes over in that e-receipt itemized folio, breaking out the different charges on that specific hotel line item based on what was on that folio. So it does this automatically, so no more of your end users having to do this by hand or manually. It's happening automatically for those end users. Also, at the very bottom of this expense, similar to what we saw on that mobile application, are what we call custom fields within Concur. So these are items, again, to build out that GL string on top of just that regular journal account code for the actual expense type itself, such as hotel. We can do these in a couple different ways. So based on your business requirements, we can have those GL string and custom fields be a drop-down list. They could be a checkbox. It could be a free-form text box or a connected list. We want to make the process of adding an expense very easy for that end user. So for example, if I need to split this expense between multiple departments or multiple projects, for example, it is very easy to do so. We can either add those ad hoc if necessary, or I have favorites here as well. You can set up favorite allocations based on, whatever that custom field may be for your company. And if that happens fairly frequently, I can then allocate specific expenses based on my favorites, and it will do that time and time again if I choose that favorite, making it extremely easy, and I can then allocate that expense line item either by a percentage or an amount. So again, we want to make this process very easy for adding an expense for that end user. So they just have to add a few things, submit their report offer approval and reimbursement, and get on with their day. So now that everything on my expense report does look good, I have my comments entered, my hard stop exceptions of that policy are cleared, all of my receipts are attached. It looks like this report is then ready to be submitted for approval. So what we do here from here with Concur is route that report to an approver based on your workflow of your company's choice so that that end user's report can get approved faster and paid out faster if need be. A typical workflow may include going through just a single approver and then going to your finance or accounting department for final review. It also can go through additional approvers if necessary. You can also have that approval workflow be limit based. So if that expense report goes over a certain dollar threshold, it may need to go to additional approvers. Or it can be based on a cost center. If that expense hits a certain department, cost center, we can then automate that approval as well. You can utilize any of these examples in this workflow or a combination of these as well. One other thing with approvals is say goodbye to having them sit at your desk. Let's get those approved on the go. You'll be able to approve those expenses as long as you have phone or Wi-Fi connectivity. When a report is sent for you for approval, you'll get a push notification on your phone to approve that expense report. And what managers will see, they will see the same level of detail on that expense report as that end user does. So you're going to be able to see any issues with those out of policy alerts, controls, and then more importantly, those receipts that are tied directly to those expenses so that your team isn't needing to bend over backwards to see which expenses or card charges are those receipts tied to or which receipts are missing. You'll have full visibility within that approval workflow into each expense line item, the report itself, and then you can approve or send back on the mobile application. As a manager, I get full visibility to what is going on in that expense report, including a detailed audit trail within the desktop version. So what that audit trail looks like, it will show me a play-by-play of all the information and all the running changes on that expense report. So it's going to show me step by step every change on that expense report, by whom and when, and it's time stamped. So I can look at individual line items on that expense report, or for example, I can see where I viewed that specific receipt, or maybe where a manager did not review a specific line item or receipt. It also shows running changes of when I, as an end user, resolved a certain exception. Also, any comments attached to that specific expense or line item. Once I take a look at all of these line items on this report, I can then take and make that judgment whether I want to approve that report. Let's say something, however, looks incorrect. Maybe I want to send it back to that employee to fix. I can then provide them a comment on that specific item that they need to fix of what was out of policy or what was incorrect, have them then submit that report. Or I can always approve and forward it to another approver ad hoc if needed. Once that report is fully approved by a manager, it will then go to accounting for final approval and review. Now, as your accounting team is processing these expense reports, they will have full access to what we call a virtual filing cabinet here in Concur, where we're storing both current and historical expense data. You can see exactly where those current expenses are in the approval cycle in real time. You can use a variety of canned search criteria to find any of those expense reports for any period of time, as well as the ability to run and create custom queries to find specific information you may be looking for, such as expense reports for a specific employee or a specific department or cost center. Maybe you want to look for expenses over a certain dollar threshold. Once these expenses are fully approved and ready to be paid, we can also assist in streamlining reimbursement, or if you would like to continue to pay your employees as you do today, We can provide an extract from Concur into your ERP so you can continue to make payment through payroll or whatever means you'd like. Concur can facilitate an ACH to those employees for reimbursement if you wish. During Concur implementation, we will work with you to set up your company funding account. Each employee, as you're rolling out Concur, will set up their own personal bank account in their profile, and any out-of-pocket expenses will be reimbursed when everything is fully approved and closed out. We will transfer the funds from your company funding account into that employee's bank account via direct deposit. We will provide you and the employee an estimated payment date in that expense report, and you control the schedule of when you want those expense reports to pay out. Not something that you have to lean on Concur for, but where we can take work off of your plate is our goal. So we've already touched on where Concur can make that impact throughout the entire expense reporting and travel booking process into the visibility and control, but I always like to touch on the out-of-the-box reports that you will receive as well right within Concur. We have easy to digest dashboards and reports that come out of the box ready for your team to utilize. You're going to have instant visibility into what your company is spending and where those expenses are at any given time. With our reporting suite, you have simple to use dashboards that are showing you high level overviews of where expenses are sitting, maybe month to month, quarter to quarter, trending versus previous months or quarters. You can easily see where you are and also where some employees that may be going against policy, tracking their out of policy spend. We can also run a number of canned reports. Maybe you want to see simply what's been entered on a report. You can sort and filter by different time periods, criterias, employee type, or a type of spend. You can always add columns to these reports. And if you're needing to hone into any of these reports in a greater detail, you'll be able to do so to see maybe simply what's been accrued in that current month. Maybe you're needing to know what that specific expense is aligned to in terms of a project or a specific department, a cost center. Any of those custom fields to build out your GL string, like we mentioned earlier, can be reported on within Concur's native reporting tool. We also have credit card transaction reports that are by far our most common report for our corporate card clients. Of course, Concur provides an accrual report, and these corporate card reports help our clients get visibility into their corporate card spend. You're able to see this data as soon as that corporate card transaction is in Concur. You do not need to wait for it to be approved. So we are instantly going to show you what's floating around in the site, or more importantly, the more delayed employees who haven't submitted their expense report yet, so there are no surprises for your AP team. Most clients compare these reports against their monthly credit card statements, and this is really where Concur can help with that reconciliation of those card charges, as those transactions are being coded, tied directly to receipt images, and itineraries when applicable, and going through the approval process. Now, for companies who need a higher degree of some of those canned reports shown before, with some enhanced customizable options, we have options to give you a more robust reporting tool, which really lets you pull data on any expense object within Concur. You can create more robust and configurable dashboards, and then be able to create some very customizable reports that can be even sent out and delivered to your team on a schedule. For example, if you want a certain report sent to your team every Monday morning at 8 a.m., we can do that based on your unique reporting needs. An example of one of these reports would be the top 10 longest to approve. So we can create custom reports to see time of approvals. How long is it taking managers to approve? Where do we need to focus on in terms of training? Where are there some more out of policy employees that need to be reminded of the policy? We can get very customizable reports with our business intelligence tool. Ultimately, we need to get that data back into your accounting system. We can provide that accounting information in a couple different delivery methods. Most commonly used and at no additional cost would be a file. During Concur's activation, we work with your team to configure that output file that has all the information you need, ordered in the right format, so that every time you download or have that file delivered, you can seamlessly upload that to your accounting system. This file can be done on demand, or we can further help automate that process for you by using a secure file transfer protocol to run that file transfer on a schedule with assistance from your IT resources, who then can schedule the retrieval of that file as needed. The second type is a pre-built or custom connector. A connector will push and pull data to and from your accounting system without a file. SAP has a number of connectors that are pre-built, and we work with a number of partners that also have built connectors to specific accounting systems and other systems. These are tried and true partners, and it is not easy to become a Concur partner, so they go through a very substantial vetting process on our end, and those connectors do have a lot of support. Ultimately, we also offer an option to access our API library, our Application Programming Interface Library, for building out custom connections or integrations if you have developers of your own that would like to build the connection themselves. This allows you to customize that data flow. Overall, Concur will partner with you on which option is the best fit to get that information to your accounting system, and it comes down to the matter of preference for you. Thank you for attending today's demonstration of Concur Travel and Expense. The goal of today's call was to show you the different ways we can enforce company policy during the travel booking and expense reporting process, making that process easier and more efficient for all of your employees, and analytical tools to increase the visibility into your company's spend and empower you to make those real-time decisions with that real data from Concur. Now that you have a better view of how Concur Travel and Expense can be utilized, are you ready to take this step towards becoming a Concur customer? Contact your SAP Concur account executive today.